Matthew headlights lanced through her back window. Jocelyn hoped it was Frederick. Who else would it be? But as she told him before, people knew the lost cave, the guardian snake, the supposed gold within, all from the stories. The more the fragile world teetered and tottered, the more the wild tales of her lineage meant to folks without nothing but the ragged clothes they wore. You think you'll ever head up there? Can I help you find it? Tell me where it is. She came home once to an open front door and a ransacked house. She left Matthew in the truck and crept inside. Should she call the police? Would they even come? Were they still here? Inside, a former teacher at her elementary school held a knife demanding the map. There was no map, but she drew a path that snaked through the mountains and gave it to him. She never heard from him again, and assumed his bleached bones were scattered across somewhere in the range. You could head north, of course. Minnesota being the promised land. Mild winters, relatively wet, and mild summers. If you could handle the tropical diseases and the mosquitoes, you were set. But Jocelyn always held off. If you arrived without money, there was nowhere to go and no shortage of people ready to capitalize on it. Slave wages to work in the big houses, the extra duties expected of women. No, you needed money. You needed a lot of it. You needed treasure. Maddie, Jocelyn whispered, reaching back to gently jostle him awake. He rubbed his eyes. What, Mama, we're here. We're going treasure hunting. Yes, but we gotta hurry, before the sun gets too hot. Frederick's truck slid to a stop. Frederick, her expert in caving. She killed the engine and got out. He walked up to her with a canvas bag slung on his shoulder. I don't think we need all this. Everything you've told me says it's a path you can walk. The place was made before flashlights and carabiners. But hey, rather have it and not need it than the other way around. Yawning, Matthew came around the truck. You brought Matthew? I assumed he would be staying with someone, race 4. Jocelyn said, the town's deserted and I'm not leaving him at home alone. I still have a working window unit and it's only a matter of time before someone breaks in to get it. Jocelyn glanced back at Matthew and held out a hand. Facing the trail, she wanted to immediately scream. Luckily, it caught in her throat. She clenched Matthew's hand and yanked him close. He yelled, and she leaned down and wrapped him in her arms. Jocelyn, Frederick said. On the path was a rattlesnake, a portion of it curling from the brush and blocking the trail. A snake of such immense size made it so she could hardly breathe. The massive body was waist-high, undulating, its scales catching the moonlight, glittering like jewels. It seemed wet, oozing. It wasn't any old snake. This one was waiting for her, expecting her. What's going on? Frederick asked. Jocelyn blinked and the vision left her. An empty trail, not one mote of dust disturbed, a hallucination. I thought I saw something, Jocelyn said. Matthew squirmed against her and wrenched himself free. Mom, I'm sorry, Matthew. She stood and glanced at Frederick, scanning the area confused. What did you see? Jocelyn patted Matthew's back and stepped closer to her friend. A snake, rattler, something bigger. It wasn't real, but I swear to God it was there. Not gonna lie, this is a bit unnerving. Frederick said, we can go back. We don't have to do this. Whether we do or not, the grid is shutting down. We can't stay here. Matthew, Jocelyn said, yeah? Ready to go treasure hunting. The mountain always seemed close, a stone's throw away. She swore they could jog to it, but she knew when you started the trek, the mountain gradually backed away, further into the horizon. Come a little further, it would say. You're almost there. This is gonna be a hell of a journey. Frederick said, good thing we got the four-wheeler. What did Marie say about all this? Jocelyn said, Marie. She's gone. Jocelyn? He switched his bag to the other shoulder. What do you mean? Gone. Like no, just she had a chance to head north. A place to go, a man to share it with. You know the story. I'm sorry, Frederick. Nah, it's fine. Now, let's go get that fucking treasure. Got a kid with me, Frederick. Please, Jocelyn. Frederick laughed. The world's ending? What's a little cussing along the way? They unloaded the four-wheeler from the truck. She charged up a tablet the night before and told Matthew where he could find it in the car. Keep him busy. Jocelyn retrieved a bag filled with water bottles, a bundle of snacks, and blankets to make a place in the shade for Matthew to stay while they explored. No one would be out here. No one was out here now. Even the Park Service abandoned the area. With the four-wheeler loaded, Jocelyn called Matthew over to strap him in. You sure you can find this place? Frederick wiped the sweat from his brow. It was 7 in the morning, and they were behind. The heat would be coming fast. Everyone in my family knew where it was, but few were dumb enough to go inside. Not dumb enough, desperate enough. Fair enough. When people get desperate, they get stupid, or they get mean. Have you ever been to the cave yourself? Only once, Jocelyn said. Hey, we pull this off, and we can all go to a place where people can afford to be human. The four-wheeler crawled and bounded over the rocky terrain, no path but memory. The maple in the canyons gave way to small groups of yellow wildflowers on the hills. They weaved around mesquite trees and started to spot the madrone dotting the cliff walls. No more mesquite and juniper trees now. Only pinon and ponderosa pine, shrubs and dry thin grasses. The wheels kicked up dust clouds and the engine whined and groaned. No animals. Even if they weren't on a loud vehicle, there would be few. What remained would be aggressive, so Jocelyn kept her head on a swivel, one arm on the handle, the other holding Matthew against her, sitting in front of her. Frederick had his back to them, gripping the rack and trying not to bounce off onto the rocks. 8 in the morning, and the sun was up, the heat rising fast. She stopped to give Matthew water and took in the silence. There had never been quiet there, not as long as there had been life in that area. The only things surviving now were Asian ticks and the leishmaniasis parasite. Pick your poison. Lyme disease and hemorrhagic fever, or risk watching your own face slowly rot off. Jocelyn pushed these thoughts away because there was majesty there. Beauty carved in stone and dotted with plants sustained on the barest of moisture, thriving in the face of apocalypse. A miracle. That place was older than humanity and would still be standing, an obelisk in the desert when they were no more. Drinking it in just as she did the image of her son, because one way or another she wasn't coming back. In Jocelyn's fantasies, she and Matthew, maybe Frederick too, would find a place up north. There was nothing left in Trail's End. Hell, she finally stopped paying rent, even though the landlord emailed her from the East Coast demanding cash. Let him come down and get it himself, she thought. Come back to no man's land and burn with the rest of us. 6,000 feet now. 10 degrees cooler if that meant anything. She stopped the four-wheeler and killed the engine. She helped Matthew down and crawled off. What now? Frederick asked. Now we walk, Jocelyn said. Let's do it. Frederick shouldered a bag and followed Jocelyn and Matthew. Matthew did a commendable job. He walked nearly 2 miles before he could move no further. Then she carried him on her back. A little while later, she traded with Frederick at the man's insistence. They drank water, shared bags of salty chips. The sun beat them mercilessly, and they tried to mend the wounds along the way, slathering sunscreen time and again. What's the next marker? Frederick said. Turtle Rock. Matthew moaned. He's right. Turtle Rock. Then Snakehead. Then the door. The markers were a mantra they listed over and over again, dropping one every few yards as they drew closer to the lost door. They sipped from their water bottles, and Jocelyn kept calling Matthew back for a drink as he kept getting ahead of them, But eventually he slowed again, the heat wicking away at him. Time for a break. Jocelyn pointed to a shady area. She spread a blanket on a patch of bare ground. Matthew and Frederick plopped down. Her son asked Frederick if he had any videos on his phone. "Oh man," Frederick said. "I have been saving some to show you." Jocelyn smiled as Matthew nestled closer to her friend, who started showing him videos, wiping away sweat from his forehead with the other hand. "Thank you for what?" Frederick said. "Everything." She glanced around, a mound catching her eye. Artificial. A pile of stones. A burial mound. Staring at it, she realized she stopped breathing. A man stood from the other side of the stones, a silhouette she recognized instantly. He turned to them and sat on the stones. Jocelyn stood. "I'm gonna find a place to use the bathroom. Watch where you squat." "Rattlers are out," Frederick said. "Rattlers? Ticks are what I'm scared of." She laughed and made her way to the pile, scrambling over rock and sidestepping thorny grass. Looking back, Frederick and Matthew were a tiny lump in the shade. How far had she traveled? She cleared her throat, and the man on the rocks looked at her. "You got big," he said. "Hi, Dad. You another hallucination? Like the snake? You going to find the treasure?" "Try to. We have to. Alamitas never leave this place." "Hell, your mama buried me under these rocks." She was pissed. "Said if you wanted to go out and die so bad, she'd make sure you never left. Helluva woman." He laughed. "Why am I seeing you? Because you're getting close. Because it's waiting on you. You trust that boy? Frederick? He's the best friend I have. Hell, he's family. The only family left. You watch your back down there. You don't let that kid near the place." Matthew is staying outside. He has enough water and can ride the four-wheeler if it gets that bad. You got it all figured out. You know, when someone does a bad thing, they have a debt. That debt is passed on until it's paid in full. What are you talking about? We owe a terrible debt, baby. Jocelyn? Frederick's voice shook her like she'd fallen asleep. She blinked and her eyes refocused. Her father was gone, or at least the hallucination. His bones were beneath the rock pile. She knew she'd placed the last stones on him. She promised, when she was Matthew's age, that she would visit him. This was the first time she did. "On my way," Jocelyn yelled. They resumed the journey, tying bandanas around their necks and donning hats to fight the sun. She and Frederick passed Matthew back and forth so he could preserve his energy. Matthew nursed his water bottle. They passed the Turtle Rock, an oblong chunk of stone on a game trail through the brush. They found the snake and rested. The weathered rock had the appearance of a serpent head, mouth slightly agape, provided you stood at the right angle. Frederick patted it. "You tell your buddies to take it easy on us." Jocelyn erected a canvas on some tent poles and spread the blanket on the ground. Matthew sat and she handed him his tablet and another bottle of water. "What do we watch for?" Jocelyn said. "Everything. Spiders and scorpions. Snakes too. Drink your water. I have some snacks in the back." "Why can't I go with you?" he said. "It's not safe for kids, even super brave ones like you." "Are we going to be rich, Mom?" Jocelyn stopped. She felt a wave of foolishness heat in her cheeks. It sounded so stupid. They were treasure hunting. They were looking for gold and risking their lives. Risking Matthew's life. What if they didn't come out? How does an 8-year-old make it from deep in the Guadalupes to Trail's End? "We're gonna be stupid rich, Matty," Matthew smiled. Jocelyn dropped down and hugged him. She put her nose to the tip of his head and sniffed. She tightened her grip. "Mom, I'm trying to watch my show." "I love you, Matty. Tell him," she thought. "Tell him we may not return. We'll be right back. Tell him you could die. He needs to know how to get back. Just enjoy your show. Tell him he's doomed. We all are." "No," Jocelyn said. Matthew looked at her. She smiled at him and jogged over to Frederick, returning to the hunt for the entrance. Frederick ran his hands along the rock, grit and sand crumbling away. Jocelyn did the same, until the cascading dirt revealed a hint of red iron, rusted and flaking. "Holy shit," Frederick said. "It's real, huh?" "Of course it's real. My word wasn't good enough." Jocelyn elbowed him gently. "No, it's real. We don't have to open it. It's not an actual door. It's just leaned against the entrance." She groped along the rock until she found the edge of the door and pulled. Dirt dropped like a curtain, and the entire door, a massive round iron plate, was revealed. Frederick hurried to the other side and helped her. The metal groaned and they jumped back as it slammed to the ground. Cold air rushed out, soured by earth and mildew. "Whoa," Matthew said behind them. "Well," Jocelyn said, "get your flashlight." Frederick brought an oversuit for himself and one of Marie's old ones for Jocelyn to wear. They pulled them over their jeans and flannels, something to add another layer of protection from the rock. They strapped on knee pads and donned gloves and helmets. They connected each other's headlamps and made sure they worked. Frederick picked up the bag of equipment. "You look like astronauts," Matthew said. "To boldly go," Frederick said. "Jesus, red shirt," Jocelyn laughed. The entrance was a small open space created where 3 large stones had crashed against each other a millennia before. Jocelyn dropped on her hands and knees and motioned for Frederick to follow. The opening would be several feet ahead. She put on her headlamp and turned it on, the beam illuminating the path ahead. This is probably the most dangerous part. The little portion where snakes and scorpions are escaping the sun. "We get past this and it's too cold for them," Frederick said. Jocelyn nodded. She turned back once to see Matthew watching them. She gave her son a thumbs up and he smiled, returning the gesture. "I love you," she thought. She crawled forward, Frederick behind her, her elbow and forearm dug into the rock and dirt. Thank God for the knee pads. Moisture and something else, an acrid scent, grew stronger every inch. Jocelyn listened to Frederick talk about bats and other things to expect. He tried to prepare her, but maybe she should have done a better job of preparing him. She had never gone this far, but the stories always spoke about an empty cavern, a place devoid of life. Only stalactites and stalagmites were to be found down here. She approached a hole in the ground ahead, just wide enough to shimmy into. Cool air permeated the opening. Jocelyn grew so accustomed to all-consuming heat that even this minor drop in temperature chilled her. She clenched her teeth to prevent them from chattering. Straight down, Frederick crawled next to her. Straight down. "It's not a major drop or anything, you've been to this part." Jocelyn adjusted her body, sitting up as much as the tight space could allow, and slid her legs into the hole, barely enough room to fit her. She had never been this far. They pulled her father's corpse from the opening on the other side of the iron door. But she remembered wind whistling from the entrance, a blast of cold air rushing over her. She dropped maybe 6 feet, the ground scraping her lower back. "Fuck," she hissed. "Careful on this part." He slid down after her. They coughed and did their best to wave away the dust clouds. She shined her light and found a ledge with 2 wooden stakes driven into the earth, rope tied around them. "The ladder just ahead," Jocelyn said. There were footprints in the dirt. Boot prints, different shapes and sizes. How many Alamedas came through here? Preserved after all these years. Will her footprints be the same? Will this be all that's left, a soft impression for a tombstone? No, Matthew is getting out of her. I'm getting out of here. How much do you think there is? Of the gold, Frederick whispered. I don't know, enough to die for, Jocelyn whispered back. They were alone, no need to quiet their voices, but this darkness felt open and vast, ancient and holy. They were in a temple, massive church for gods unknown. They best lower their voices and keep their heads down to avoid offending them, or worse, them hearing them. Even now, as man-made extinction wiped the world of life, and humans gave one final demonstration of their futile power, this cavern reminded them of their infinitesimal smallness. Many things will outlast them, and stand just as it did once the last bit of dust from the last man's bones are swept away by indifferent winds. We take the ladder down, the gold is deeper in the cavern. We're close. Fuck no, Frederick laughed. We're not using the 100-year-old rope ladder. I got this. He unsaddled his bag from his shoulder and started pulling out climber's rope. We'll use natural anchors. We're going to do the indestructible rope technique, keep us from damaging anything. I like the indestructible term, I won't lie. This is probably the only part we will need to be on rope for. We're going down slowly. I'll go first and help you down. We're not doing anything complicated. No changeovers or crossing knots. Just straight down. How do we get back up? Same system. I'm going down first, I'll get you hooked in beforehand and you can follow. You'll be upright, your legs doing most of the work. It's going to feel like a stair climber at the gym. With the rigging set up, Frederick gently rappelled down. The drop wasn't too far, but Frederick was right. The fall from the rope ladder, if it snapped, would have been fatal, if she was lucky. Otherwise, she would be trapped, starving to death beneath hundreds of miles of rock. Come on, just start the descent. We've done this before. At a climbing gym, in an old silo. Come on, Jocelyn, you got this. I'm down here and there are so many redundancies, you'll be fine. For Matthew, Jocelyn said to herself. She started the rappel slowly, feeling the strain on her legs as she repeated Frederick's instructions. Muscles she didn't realize she had ached as she descended the rock face. Then, the rapid whistle of rope sliding through and she fell. No weight on her legs, just a free fall to the bottom. Jocelyn screamed. She stopped just feet from the bottom, and Frederick rushed to help her down. She unhooked and dropped onto her back. What the fuck, Frederick, she screamed. I'm so sorry, he said. I don't know much, but that's not supposed to happen. A blue pinprick of light, the little glow of the outside world, inevitably dimming with the deeper they went, was above her. I'm so sorry. Frederick got her up. A carabiner must have slipped or something. Are you okay? Anything broken? I'm fine. Get this shit off me so we can keep on. The ground beneath her feet and the walls seemed cold. She could almost feel it beneath her gloves. Jesus. Jocelyn, look. He shined his light on a body, a skeleton in ragged strips of cloth. Then another. Spread out, some bones scattered. She knew there were at least 500 years of bones. Every person who attempted to discover and steal the cache died in the caves. Why did she think she could be any different? We just keep going. Go in the direction of them. Not unnerving at all. Jocelyn, you said something about a snake guardian or whatever, but it's 65 degrees in here. What really killed these people? I don't know, Jocelyn said. Maybe they got lost. Maybe they killed each other. Frederick was quiet. You okay, Fred? So close to the ladder. He helped her shed the equipment and unhook from the ropes. The muscles in her legs felt tight and sore, resisting movement when she walked as Frederick gathered up the equipment into his bag. He stood. The headlamp shined in her face. She winced, throwing her hand up to shield her eyes. We ready? He asked. What happened? I don't know. Whatever it was a freak thing. It won't happen again. I might try my luck with the ladder on the way back. Between you and the gold, that thing is coming down. Well then, you got the gold. The path forward seemed clear enough. They crawled much of the way, their helmets occasionally knocked against the stone above them. The air grew cooler. The path of least resistance seemed to be the way. which made sense since all the treasure was hidden before the existence of modern climbing gear. Hell, her father never exercised a day in his life, and he managed to find it, if only for a moment. They finally reached a tall enough area where they could stand and relax their aching backs and sore knees and palms. "We're close now," Jocelyn said. "There's another ledge, but there's a way down." "Jocelyn, look at this." She walked to where he stood near the edge. His light revealed more rock across a gulf, with a sudden drop into darkness in between. "Don't get so close," Jocelyn said. "No matter what, he won't suffer." "What? I'll take care of him." "What? You trust that boy?" He quickly turned and grabbed her arms. Jocelyn went to plant her feet and twist out of his grip, but she was in free fall before she knew it. Nothing beneath her. No time to register her predicament before she crashed into the floor that immediately gave way and enveloped her in ice. Water. A deep pool. She fought against her soaked clothing, dragging her down into the icy depth. She bobbed and struggled, trying to suck in oxygen, but only inhaling more water. Choking. Her arm struck stone and she pawed at it desperately, her gloves failing to find purchase on the slick rock. Finally, she got her hand around a crag and pulled herself out of the water, rolling on the bank. She wanted to scream, but knew no sounds would come out, too frozen and in shock to do much of anything but get air into her lungs. Above, Frederick's voice echoed. "I realized there wouldn't be enough not if we want to escape. The money was disappearing before we even got it. I'm sorry. I had to. Silence. She struggled to her feet, her light blinking on and off, the glimpses of total darkness making her slow beating heart jump. How would she find her way out? Thankfully, the light settled. The ground crunched and creaked beneath her boots. She almost lost her footing. When Jocelyn looked down, she found bones. A vast cavern littered with bones, such that you couldn't see what was underneath. Animal and man, separated and broken, cracked open and shattered. Jocelyn. The bones shifted, and she tried to follow the movement with her light. Two small orbs met her. A large rattlesnake like the one on the porch of the house next door. It slithered over the pile, joined by numberless others. Their eyes glowed in the dark, even when she took the light away. Follow the path. She started ahead, aware of the reptiles flanking and following her, escorting her through hell. Keeping the fear out of her voice, she told them about Matthew, how she wanted to save her son. That's all she needed, just a small portion. They could keep the rest. If this is because of what my ancestors did, I'm sorry. I am. But I'm desperate. Desperate, the voice echoed. What are you? Ghosts. There are so many down here. Just look around. Jocelyn wished she hadn't. Pale snakes were everywhere, perched on every surface, curling around stalagmites, some blending into the rock, all with unblinking, illuminated eyes. They rattled briefly, almost too soft to hear. Then when she took a turn into an area with a higher ceiling, she barely noticed the noise. Now, you must prove your worth. My worth? Before she could respond, someone screamed her name. Desperate, Frederick. He ran to her, his light bobbing, gripping his right arm. He slid to a stop and collapsed. Snakes. Goddamn, so many snakes, he said. Bit me. They don't look right. Around him, moving like it was swimming in air, was another serpent. Translucent skin and blue veins running through it like cracks in glass. It circled Frederick. You tried to kill me. The rope, all of it. You tried to fucking kill me. Help me. Frederick said, I'm dying, Matthew. What were you going to do with Matthew? He wouldn't have suffered. Please, he convulsed. Frothy blood ran from his mouth. It wasn't enough? You have no idea how much is down here. No one does. But it was enough to kill me for? Help me, please. Frederick begged, ignoring her. The snake drew closer and closer until it slid alongside his shaking body. Jocelyn searched nearby and found a broken-off chunk of stalagmite. She picked it up and dropped to her knees. She got closer to Frederick, the serpents giving them a wide berth. She had no final words for him, and she ignored his, clenching the rock with both hands and smashing it onto his skull again and again until he stopped begging. In the pool of light from her headlamp, she took in the mangled remains of her friend's face. His body gave one last shudder, then began being tugged slowly away into the darkness. "He's all yours," Jocelyn said. "Follow him," the voice said. "To where?" "Treasures." The nothingness consumed his corpse as she hurried to follow the path. She ignored her racing heart or the thoughts of potentially becoming lost or falling down a crevasse. Creatures crawling on the ground and over themselves, overlapping and sliding under each other. An armada of scales and eyes holding back the dark, giving view to the intertwined river around her. A few were similar to the one who took Frederick, but most of them were the same pale, melding together, translucent creatures with spiny backs. A rat king that hissed and even moaned with voice. The reptilian chorus grew louder, like howling winds, but one carried above the din. "You're close now." There was light, fires burning in small bowels. No, skulls, broken skulls. The flames brightened the room around her, and she saw rotten bags of hide and wool, each stuffed with coins and gold bars. But there were others engraved with images of serpents and people, creations that didn't belong here, transported from distant places and hidden in the cavern. In the center, a man sat cross-legged, barely visible in the flickering firelight, his shadow stretching behind him. He raised his head. Frederick. His eyes were solid white, but they didn't glow like the snakes, they were like white marble. "Frederick?" Jocelyn said. He opened his mouth, his jaw twisting. "No." "What are you?" "Older than old." Jocelyn stepped forward. Her foot nudged a small bag shut. She recognized the words scrawled on it as Spanish. She picked it up. Her father's handwriting, "Para Jocelyn," it said, "Just let me go. I only need this, for my son." "No." Jocelyn backed up, glancing to her left and finding the snakes shuddering, spines erect. Others curled, pulling their heads back to strike. "Please," Jocelyn said. "There is no one else. He's alone up there." Frederick's head leaned forward. "No." "What are you?" "Frederick, is that you? Is there any of you there?" "No." "What is this?" Jocelyn clutched the bag to her chest. "Merely a way to speak. A means I no longer need." The body stood slowly and continued to rise above the ground. The legs dangled. The mouth popped open and a guttural wheeze erupted from it. The eyes went black as the body dropped to the ground. Two massive fangs gleamed in the low light. The source of the ivory eyes, fangs of a massive snake stabbed into the skull of corpse. Jocelyn could see it now. A faint glow illuminated the creature, rose higher, poised to strike. The serpent, towering over her, bigger than any animal she had even seen. Long, barbed quills ran down its back like razored feathers. Red, blue, green veins spider-webbed underneath its translucent,